And what is up, everybody? It's your favorite Angry American on the Angry American Nation podcast. We're running a little light tonight. We've got some crew out doing goon stuff. They might show up. I don't know if they'll show up or when, but we'll see. We're hoping they will. But we do have the illustrious Sue LaRue back. Say hi to everybody, Sue.
I'm back.
There he is.
Yeah.
But more importantly, even better than Sue, is we've got Hakeem Isler here tonight, guys. And Hakeem's a nice guy. I mean, as far as people go, personality-wise, a genuinely nice guy. I've never even seen you look sternly in someone's direction, man. and he goes by the Black MacGyver. Hakeem's into survival, combatives. He's got his own foundation. He's doing a lot of stuff. But I'm gonna let Hakeem tell you guys about that. So Hakeem, with no more to do, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate being on the show. And I will add to what you said. Like, I never look sternly at anybody, just so that it's not a cry wolf moment. When it happens, then everyone knows it's game on.
Yeah. They know it's for real.
Yeah, they know it's for real. There's no and I'm a Gemini, so there's no middle ground. I'm either Hawk or Hakeem, one or the
other. Well, that's good, man. That's good. So give everybody a little bit of the rundown on your background, because I know your martial arts, the survival, all the things you're into. It's a kind of I mean, they mesh well together, but some aspects of it, like the ninja side of things, sounds a little different than what most people are doing. So let's give folks a rundown on how you got to where you are and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, grew up in New Brunswick, where Rutgers University is. And while I was there, when I was 9, I told my mom I wanted to be a ninja. And she laughed and thought that was like really silly and crazy. And then about when I started martial arts at 8, kept in it the whole time. And when I got to about 21, I discovered this guy, the first American to go to Japan, learn the ninja martial arts, and bring it back to America. And of all places, he lived in Ohio. So, wow. So I went to, I told my mom, this is what I got to do. I got to go and train with this ninja guy. And everybody thought I was crazy. Went there, visited him, loved it, came back, saved up $1,200, moved to Ohio to train with him. Trained with him nonstop, almost every day for 5 years. And then I joined the Army. I went into psychological operations because it was the closest thing to being kind of in the special operations world that also had the ninja background of being able to use psychological warfare and understand what that meant and so on and so forth. And I wanted to be able to use my talents and my gifts to serve my country, because I was serving my family well, I was serving my community well. I was serving the people around me, but I had not served my country yet. So for me, that was a big deal. So I was like, I have these skills, let me jump in and learn that. And I was super passionate about it. I really loved it. And during that time, I started, when I would go out and I would come up with missions or ideas on how to solve different problems that we had on missions. And I was always creating. So my friends were like, man, you're like MacGyver, you're like the Black MacGyver. so that just kind of like, and then, we all laughed, and it was just something that, continued with me as I moved on. Later, I got out, started a martial school, teaching all of these different skills, went to executive protection school, graduated with honors from that. And then decided that I was going to go on Naked and Afraid, this television show. And
I remember your episodes too. I remember you being on.
That was a tough episode, man. I'm telling you, it changed my whole world.
Bro, you guys, and that show puts you in the absolute worst possible places and the worst possible conditions to just make you suffer. That's what it was about.
Yeah.
So.
They just want to see you suffer. Yeah. And but it woke me up. It gave me this opportunity to explore who I was really, really deep inside. And I had some issues with PTSD that I had not confronted, because in my mind, I was the psychological warfare guy. Of course, I understand psychology. I understand how my brain works. So, I compartmentalize real well, so I don't have any issues. But then when I got out there and I didn't have any of the distractions of the world, I was just shown my deep, deep essence of who I was. And so I came back and I was like, I have to provide experiences like this for other people. And that's why I started the Soil Foundation. Soil means seeds of indigenous learning. And I feel like indigenous people anywhere in the world all had this really great connection with nature. And they understood what it was like to dive deep into this connection between nature and them. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you are, you'll find the people of those eras in the past really had this, especially the warriors, really had a deep connection with the outdoors, with hunting, with nature, with, doing all those type of things. And so that's where the Soil Foundation came from. And as I continued on, I started getting more television gigs. I appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show and First Man Out and Race to Survive Alaska and Couples Retreat or couples therapy. So I did all these different things. And that's what I've been doing. I've been teaching martial arts, teaching all these different survival skills that I've acquired over the years. I've written several books, and I still hold to this ninja ideal, because the ninja themselves were these kind of generalists first, and then they had certain specificities that they focused on. And they would get hired for missions or used for missions based on what they specialized in, but they always had, just like any military person, you are an infantryman first, we're talking about the Army, and then you're whatever your real job is, but you better know how to shoot, better know how to move and communicate and do all those things first. That's what basic training is about. And then, that's, by the way, you're a cook as well, Yeah. So, and that's how the ninja were. So, I kind of feel like I'm walking in that ancient lineage's footsteps by having, being able to have really good knowledge in a bunch of different things, and use that as my operating system to kind of see the world and help me deal with problems.
That's awesome, man. It's a lot. Like, I was on a show too, and I didn't pursue that side of things. Naked and Afraid begged me to be on their show, and I was like, no way in hell, not doing that. I'm not doing under no circumstances. I'm not doing that. But go back to one thing you said. You said your buddies called you the Black MacGyver, and so on the podcast we like to do giveaways. So the way the giveaways work is tonight's hashtag is #the Black MacGyver. And you put that in the comments, and you're going to be registered to win. And this week, I know I have one of these left. Now, it's not going to be the green one. I don't think it's a black one. But I'm going to give away a Zippo lighter for fire in honor of Hakeem being a survival instructor. We're going to give away some fire tonight. So one of the Angry American Zippo lighters will be to get when we do this drawing later in the show. Hang on. We're going to take care of some administrative stuff. Hang on. Sorry, guys. This is something that just irritated me. All right, that's done. All right, so Sue can speak to the cross training thing better than I can, being as how he was. He's a fag, and in our world, Hakeem, fag means former action guy. So he's a team guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
We probably chewed a lot of the same dirt, Hakeem. Where'd you serve most at? Afghanistan or Iraq?
Iraq.
Yeah. So yeah, I was there with the 36 Commandos and stuff like that. Maybe this is from you too. You recognize this one? Can you see it?
I've seen that photo. Yeah.
This is psychological operations. This is me in the battle before the second battle of Fallujah, and then Combat Camera got that
Wow.
picture. So they made a whole bunch of flyers of these and dropped them all over Fallujah.
That's awesome, man.
That's pretty.
So yeah, so they're worried about the ugly redhead coming. I guess I don't know.
So you said you're teaching.
They gave me an English version of it.
Oh yeah, I noticed it didn't have the squigglies.
Yeah.
It had real words on it, and not hieroglyphics. Not to disparage anybody's whatever culture. I don't give a shit personally, but so I know you're teaching survival. You're teaching obviously martial arts. What else are you teaching right now?
So for me, and the reason I created Survive University is that, everything comes down to our survival, right? So whether it be, and as you move through these different levels of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, whether you are talking about, you know, how do I interact with people at work, or how I can keep, it's all about survival. So that's why I kind of circle around all these different skills. I do the martial arts training. I do, you know, shooting tactics and training. I also do wilderness survival and urban survival. As you know, I have my Team Ready book out, which is partially urban survival as well as being able to build a quality team. And then I have the Ninja Wilderness Survival book out as well, which talks a lot about the different survival aspects. So for me, it's all about, everything is about survival, whether the soccer mom at home going out, she's still always thinking about survival. How do I keep my family fed? Where do I need to go? How do I keep the roof over the head? You know, the husband is the same way, or the male is the same way, doing the same thing, right? We're all waking up every day trying to, you know, fulfill all these tenets of survival. So that's very important to me, and I think it's very important to everybody else, which is why, you know, not only these books, but I'm going to be writing several other ones as well. So
that's awesome. I love to see people getting into publishing, and especially the nonfiction side of the survival things, because there's a lot of books out there. Yeah, not picking on any one author. I don't think I have someone in mind, because I don't, but a lot of them aren't done too well. So it's good to see somebody with a solid background, man, putting out real quality information. That's fantastic. Do you know John Simmons? Do you know him?
I do, yeah.
I figured that's why I threw his comment up there. I was like, John obviously knows you, so I know John. He's a great guy. That's why I stuck that up there for you. So he's good people. And what you're saying, go ahead.
I was going to say, I designed an axe that I brought with me on Naked and Afraid, and later RMJ Tactical picked it up, and they made a small run of them, and they sold out right away. And somebody recently told me that they're kind of like a collector's item now. So they go for, like, you know, crazy amount of money. And I'm like, you know, wow, that's crazy. Like, some guy told me like $2,200 he paid once. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, we did a limited run of custom blades, modified kukri, which we're working on getting it into production right now. But we only did, what did we do on 20 of them, I think it was, and they were $500 at the time. They sold like that, and then it was a nightmare getting the bladesmiths to finish them. And but we're getting ready, I think, to put it into production. So yeah, I've been dipped my toes into the world of blade making and getting all that done.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying earlier about teaching survival and how survival applies everywhere. If you're alive right now, you're a survivalist. You know, you're still here, so it's working out for you. You know, it's just everybody has different levels of skills. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Some people need a Whole Foods and a Starbucks and all that kind of stuff to survive, and some people don't. So I know you don't.
You're absolutely right. And I think the way you put that is really, if you're alive right now, you're surviving. So you might see that pop up in a book somewhere. I'll quote you, of course, but
yeah, take it and run with it. I mean, that's one of the things I'll tell people when they talk about skills and survival classes and everything, or they'll say, I'm not a survivalist. And I'm like, well, you're alive right now. You are a survivalist. You've survived this long. So you just need to just add your toolbox to be able to survive in harsher conditions and whatever, and learn discomfort and get comfortable with discomfort, which is something I always try to teach my kids very unsuccessfully, that there's a difference between uncomfortable and dead. You know, you can be uncomfortable and you can be in pain and things like that and not be dead. Right, Sue?
Yeah. You don't grow old by being stupid, you know. But,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Emery is getting kind of old, though. He's over 40. So
yeah,
he's an exception to the rule. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you said that. So the word ninja, a lot of people don't know this, but the word ninja means one who endures, one who perseveres. So when people come in and they say, oh, I'm not into this ninja thing, or I can't be a ninja, I have a very similar way to speak to them, as you just said, where I say, well, have you ever endured any hardship or persevered over any hardship in your life? And normally the answer is yes. And so I'm like, well, you're a ninja. I'm just here to teach you the principles that the ancients used in their system of ninjutsu. But you're already a ninja. You're already persevering. You're already enduring every day while you're doing what you're doing. So it's funny how to hear you explain that and break down your quote, that it's very similar to what I've used in the ninja.
Yeah, you boil it down to its essence, essentially. That's all we're talking about.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Hakeem, but isn't it the Shogun created the samurai class? When the Shogun was created, so he created the samurai class, which is much more than just fighting and sword play and things like that. But they had to be very artistic. They had to be very disciplined. They had certain ceremonies they had to do with their tea. Is there a lot of that in the same Bushidoism in the ninja culture too?
No, so the ninja, so that idea was very samurai, like you mentioned. And what some people don't know is that as time went on, there were samurai who became ninja and ninja who became samurai.
Right.
But as a culture, the ninja were a mountain people. So they were very like, if I was to try to sum it up in a way that we would understand it, they were very like hillbilly, they were the hillbillies of that time. And if we can think about the aristocrats that live here and, and work in politics and stuff like that. And maybe if you say like a Delta Force operator versus a backwoods hillbilly type person, you get what I'm saying? Like two very good standards, but they just have different ways of looking at the world. You get what I'm saying? Like one is very regimented, structured, and another would be regimented and structured, but in a whole different way. And that's how the ninja were. The issue was that instead of the culture at the time, the samurai respecting their freedoms and saying, okay, well, you can hang out in the woods and do what you wanted to do, they were like, no, the way we operate is that whatever the emperor wants or the shogun wants, everybody does. And so if you're not doing what we're doing, then we're going to destroy you. And in some ways, that kind of sounds a lot like today, and right, in a lot of ways, with some of the things we're going through now. It's like, hey, if you don't believe in what I believe, then we're going to shut you down. And so this idea was something that was counter to culture at the time, and that's where the real conflict between the two came up. Was that these guys were like, hey, we're just living in the woods, doing our own thing with our own families. And you guys want to control us, and we don't want that. We want to stay free, and that's where a lot of the clash happened. And so then just like a sniper, people would say, well, the ninja were assassins. It'd be like, well, would you call a sniper an assassin for the U.S. government? Maybe they just go in, they take out one person, and they prevent a war. That seems pretty noble versus let's get everybody on boots on ground and like a whole bunch of people die, for years and years and years, when we could have just ended this with one shot, one kill, and so that was kind of the difference in mindset too. Whereas the samurai tended to want to have honor, so they would like to fight openly in the field against one another to show, their machismo, and the ninja were like, hey, we're just some ragtag dudes up in the mountains. We just want to survive. We're not playing that honor game or any of that stuff. We just want to be up here with our families and enjoy ourselves. And it was just a clash in ideas and concepts. So that's really
classic insurgency. Yeah, it was classic insurgency with the samurai, the Bushido Code essentially being the organized military at the time, and the ninjas being the insurgents that they were trying to rout. And as happened throughout history, the samurais chase down the ninjas and persecute them for time. They're used as the instrument by the powers that be, and then the powers that be later turn against the samurai class and disarm them and cut their hair and humiliate them and persecute them and kill them and do all the stuff. So it's like you said, it's the exact same things that are happening today.
History kind of rhymes.
What's old is new again. You know what I'm saying? So it just keeps coming around and coming around. So in a minute, I want to bring up something we talked about right before we came on. But I'm going to make a quick pitch for the Patreon. So if you guys want to join Patreon, you can join for any amount. We're going to be doing some reorganization on this here very soon. Patreon's going to be absorbed into the new website. There's going to be some features in there, different features and stuff too. But on Patreon, you can have access to the Patreon Live we do every week, and then also the after show, the On the Rock show that we do after this, where we can be a little looser in what we talk about because we're not dealing with platforms that want to demonetize and destroy people. Let's show them a quick little On the Rocks promo because we just love hearing Sue's voice. Let's run one of those real fast. And then we were going to get back to what we were talking about right before we went on.
Paying attention to today's media makes about as much sense as having taste buds on your butthole. Pretty crappy.
Sue, you really need to get a job doing voiceover work, man.
I can't believe you guys used that one. I sent that to Holly as a joke.
Come on now, you know better than that. You think we're going to hear something like, no, we don't want that. Yes, I absolutely want that. Here's a comment for you.
I've been out of the picture for I've been in the hospital I've been on my back in the hospital for a month, so I forgot all about that one. That just cracked me up. I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, it burned when he peed. So Trick there says, I missed my chance to be a samurai. I have a bald spot on the top of my head, no longer to grow a top knot. can't grow a top knot. That's samurai, not ninja. And he did say samurai. So there we go. All right. So right before we came on, again, I asked you if you were tracking what was going on with Berkey, Big Berkey filters. And for those that don't know, the EPA has just through regulation, not through any sort of legislative action whatsoever, simply through their internal mechanisms, like we know the federal government loves to do. If they can't pass something through legislation, they'll try to dictate it through regulation. And the EPA just declared Big Berkey water filters to be a pesticide. Let that sink in for a minute. They're not a water filter. They're somehow a pesticide, which they had to cease all sales immediately. I know some guys that are in the Berkey business, and I can only imagine what's doing to them. I'm going to try to get a hold of one of them tomorrow because I just found out about this earlier today. Me and Mel went to a water park, and we've been in the lazy river all day. That's what I've been up to. So, but what do you think about that, Hakeem? And have you ever used them? Have you ever used the Berkey filters? First, let me ask you that.
Yes, I used a whole host of filters. It's not what I use on the normal, but yes.
It's not what I use in the field, but I use it at home. So I've got the big Royal, the biggest one you can get from them that does my house, till the kids knocked it over here recently and broke the filters off, at $600 a set or whatever it is right now. So I got to replace those. But the absurdity of that claim by the EPA that a water filter is somehow a pesticide is astonishing. And to what end? Like who's benefiting from this? And they always say follow the money. So you got to wonder who just invested in a water filter company someplace, what politician or whatever, because that makes no sense on its face. And there it is right there, and Berkey is suing the EPA over this classification because it's destroying their business. It's putting a bunch of people out of work. And it's just mind-boggling. I'm just curious what your take on it would be as to why you think the feds might want to outlaw the best water filter on the planet.
Yeah, I haven't to really dive into this particular thing, but I will tell you that I try to look at everything from a PSYOP perspective. And so I'm looking at all these different angles of what might or might not be, sometimes based on information that's out there. And so what I can tell you is that having my own land and then looking up what it is to do rainwater collection and things of that nature, for us as outdoor homesteader type individuals or off-grid type individuals, if you want to start minimizing the way that people can stay off-grid, you have to start choking some of the resources that they would use to be off-grid. And so one of those resources would be how we purify water. So in California, there's a husband and wife team that owns all of the water rights. So they are actually minimizing people's ability to collect rainwater, to do water purification and things within their house because they want to be in control of that water source. Now, that's centralizing water, just like we're trying to centralize power. Like when I tried to get solar panels out on my property, and the guy comes out there and says, "Oh, well, if you want to do this, it has, in order for it to be official, it has to actually be through the power company, that you have to feed the power back to them and then back, at a discounted rate." So I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go to another power company. And then Shane, the joke was on me because there was no other power company. They were the only one serving that whole area. So I have my way that I won't say on an open source that I got around that. But, there's still those types of things. So when we're looking at this, we say to ourselves, well, if we want to minimize people's ability to move off grid, we have to start attacking the companies, just like they're doing with cryptocurrency, attacking the companies that are going to allow people to set up off grid. And one of those is to attack the water filter, so people can't filter their water properly. And so that's right off the top of my head, without actually doing any investigation. That to me would be a logical. If you came to me and you told me to write up a plan on how to do that, and you wanted to get Black MacGyver involved, that would be how I would go about it.
I'm glad to hear that our opinions track 100% in line with each other, because that's the same thing I thought. My response to it on Twitter was, they want you dependent. They want you dependent. They have to you got to, if you're not dependent on them for something, then you don't need them, right? The last
Well,
thing
exactly. They don't want diversity or choice. It's
No.
Hakeem and I experienced this in the military. I mean, you got several items that's, on your LBE or on your uniform that work real well, but you're not allowed to wear those items no matter how comfortable they make you or how much common sense they make, because somebody's like, well, that isn't one of the 4 items that has been approved by the Department of Defense. On the way back from the doctor today, I stopped in at a local John Deere shop with my cousin, the doctor. He wants to get a tractor. And I said, well, let's stop at the John Deere place. And the John Deere, the guy's like, we're not dealing in John Deere's anymore. I'm like, well, what happened? And they said, well, the dealership or the John Deere factory wants to do away with all the mom and pop shops, and they just want to go with big distributorships, right? So, kind of like taking John Deere and going to Cabela's or to Tractor Supply. And if they got 20, 30 stores, then they'll sell them the tractors, right? But if you're just, say, Chris, you and I just wanted to open a John Deere shop in northern Florida, they would not allow it. They've stopped it, so that's kind of scary in itself, that not only government is using unelected regulation, unelected officials to regulate individuals, but that big corporations are also doing it to the smaller ones. So what it does is just takes choices away, and you got to find some other way of doing it, whether it's filtering water or, like Hakeem said, getting a second source of electricity or whatever. You're not allowed to do it.
I like to call it the Walmartization. Like,
and it's been that way.
It's
been that way for 120 years. Where I come from, the Colorado is known as the mother of rivers. Do you know that where my son was born in Canyon City, Colorado, is the beginning of the Arkansas River? The people that live next to the Arkansas River in Colorado are not allowed to take a drop of water out of that river because it's owned by somebody in Little Rock. They want every drop of water going through Little Rock.
Well, back in the day, water wars were a thing. I mean, how can you claim, and the way, like, I didn't know it was a husband and wife couple in California that owned the water rights to the entire state. That sounds bananas to me, but like in California, I know you can't collect rainwater. The idea that somebody owns the water that falls from the sky is an absurdity of epic proportions. But yeah. So I just wanted your take on that, man, because I figured you track closely with me, and we're dead in line with each other. Same reason I thought. So. Uh-oh.
We lost your voice, Hakeem.
Must be a connection issue. We completely lost him. Yeah. We might not be able to hear us, but that's all right. And if you want to build your own standalone, not whole house, solar's power system backup, I can provide some help for resources. I'm in the next county west of you. Oh, there we go. Throw that up for Hakeem. Maybe he'll see it. He's still going, but he ain't gonna be able to hear you guys. You guys ain't gonna be able to hear him, apparently. So I don't know what's happening there. Dun, dun, dun. That's all right. How can you own flowing water? Thank you, Trick. Exactly.
I wonder if he can hear us.
We cannot hear you. So we'll let him sort that out for a few minutes. But Sue, did you hear that about Berkey? Yeah, down. Did you know that the Berkeys were the EPA had done that?
No, I like I said, I got out of the hospital probably a couple weeks ago, and I've been under strict bed rest, which I'm glad I have, because I felt like the whole time after those surgeries, I felt like I was laying under. Matter of fact, that's the damn PTSD I got from it. I had an active dream in surgery. I was laying under a car, and EMS people were trying to get me out from under it, like, a car wreck or an airplane wreck or something. And I could remember all the EMS around me and everything. But every time they tried to jack it up, it felt like I was crushing my head more, So I just had this massive headache for a month. So I'm finally getting some relief from it, and I'm glad I am. But first thing I did was watch the news last night, and this unelected official over in the EU. I don't know if you heard of her, Ursula von der Leyen.
Huh? Mm-hmm.
She's not even elected. She's the president of the EU, and she's trying to tell everybody that we need to get, or everybody in Europe, she wants to introduce the global ID. Did you hear about that?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
And that just scared. And then she's the president of the EU, and she said the UN should enforce it. So here she is, an unelected official trying to tell another agency or another organization.
No, she's trying to
have to enforce it.
She's also trying to tell sovereign nations that they need to do this. Because if everybody goes to that, you've just surrendered your sovereignty to the EU and the UN. Are you back?
So we need to check her genealogy. I'm pretty sure she's the granddaughter of Heinrich Himmler or something like that. Little Nazi.
Yeah, we lost him for
back.
a few minutes, man. There, you're back. Awesome. All right, cool.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah. Good. I don't know where I left off, but I was talking that conspiracy theory stuff, and then everything shut down. So maybe I was on point. I don't know.
Oh, man. Hey, man, you're not taking flack unless you're over the target, bro. I mean, shit, I had something else I was going to ask you guys about, but we'll move on. So let's get down to survival, because we all three of us sitting here right now stomp around in the woods a fair amount. So break down Black MacGyver Hakeem's survival philosophy, like in training. Now I'm talking to teach survival, because I don't consider myself a good instructor. I really don't. I will do my best. I try, but I don't think I'm a very good instructor. So let's hear from somebody who actually knows how to teach people. Let's hear your philosophy on instruction.
Oh man. So I have an acronym that I created as part of the ninja philosophy, and it's ADAPT, right? And so I have this idea of acclimate, which is the A, D is decide, the other A is act, and then from there I'm going to pace myself, and then I'm going to trim down whatever it is that I don't need. And so I see a situation, doesn't matter the situation, I'm going to acclimate myself to that. I'm figuring out what's going on here, where, and how does it relate to me and what I have going on. Then I'm going to make a decision. Okay, how do I deal with this particular thing? I make that decision. Then I'm going to take action. I'm going to take some action, whatever it is, whatever based on my decision. Then I'm going to pace myself. So I'm not going to burn myself out in that action or go so far down that rabbit hole that by the time I realize it, I can't pull back. And then as I'm pacing myself, I'm re-examining as I move along the way to see if there's anything that I actually don't need, that at the beginning I thought I did, but at the end I don't. And that's where the T comes in, where I trim. I take all of that and I use this kind of concept of, I always tell people when I'm teaching them, I say, hey, the best way that I say it is that the knowledge is king, application is queen, and together they rule. So it's this idea that if you have this knowledge, but you don't know how to apply it, then you can't have a successful kingdom, right? So, you have to have the knowledge, you have to then have the application, and together with good knowledge and application, if you put them together, then you have a quality kingdom. You rule the kingdom well. And I find that some people have a bunch of application, but they have no real understanding or knowledge. And some people have a bunch of knowledge, but they really don't know how to apply that knowledge. And so they're falling short of the two. So I try to get people to really understand that. And the way I teach is I relate everything to things that people are already doing in their lives. So if I'm talking about when I'm teaching building shelter, when people come out and it's their first day, first hour, I say, hey, who knows how to build a shelter? They always say, I don't know what to do, da, da, da. I say, oh yeah, you don't? Look at the house that you live in. All we did was upgrade the same things that the Neanderthals were already doing, right? So we just have an upgraded version of the same things. We're still building it with sticks, and we're stuffing a bunch of stuff in between the walls. We still have some way to contain our fire in this fireplace or in our central air system. It's still the same concept. It's just doing that. So if you look around your house and you say, well, what do I have? Well, I have a floor. Okay, I have a foundation. So let me get my foundation together. Okay, now I have walls and a roof. So let me try to figure out that. Now my walls and my roof aren't empty. They got insulation in them. So let me figure out how to get this insulation in there. Once they get that and they say, oh, damn, they look at everything and they start really figuring it out, because then they realize they're living it. And I tell people if a squirrel can survive harsh winters and then come out unscathed at the end, then there's no reason why a human being has to die.
I love primitive shelter days. Alan Kay coined this term. I'm going to give him full credit because he did coin this term, but I use it anytime I'm teaching it. Primitive shelter days. We call it we call it TARP Appreciation Day, and primitive fire skills lighter appreciation day. Because they walk into it, and two, it's when you're talking about the knowledge, having the knowledge of something, that's important. And there's a lot of people that have knowledge, but do they have an experiential frame of reference to their knowledge? In other words, have they ever been there and done it? You can watch YouTube videos and read books and learn a lot of stuff, but until you go do it, you don't actually appreciate it. We'll ask students, we're getting ready to start primitive shelter. How long do you guys think this is going to take you? Oh, 2 to 3 hours, blah, 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 all this. You're all right, so we'll give you guys 3 hours. 3 hours, knock them out. Go for it. 6 hours later, when they're still at work on these things, they're like, yeah, we get it now. Now we see. And two, your philosophy reminded me very much of the OODA loop with follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the same thing. It's the OODA loop, follow-up. So that's a cool way of doing it,
And I love what you said there, because a perfect example of that, I always use this friend of mine. His name is, I'll call him Jay, not to put his full name out there, but Jay taught at SEER School, the Army SEER School. And that's where he and I became friends. And one day he comes out to my property and we're talking bow drill fire set. And I'm like, man, I've done it, but it's always takes me a long period of time. He's like, bro, it doesn't take that long. This and I said, yeah, it's easy for you because you're teaching it every 2 weeks at SEER School, another group. And he's like, yeah, I can do it pretty fast. I was like, well, right here, we got a bunch of pine. Can you do it with pine? He was like, yeah, I can do it with pine real easy. It's not a problem. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I like it. Look at that guy. Hey.
Look, Dapper Dan has showed up. What's up, Dapper Dan? Turn your microphone on. Hey, there you go.
Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, we're good.
Yes. Yeah, we hear you. Oh, shit.
As you can with Holiday Inn internet. What's going on?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Burned up. Been out in the sun all day on the range. Emory been beating on me all day long. But other than that.
What are you thinking of that class, man?
They call it basic. And I think really it's, basic push-up, basic setup, basic abuse, No, it's a great course. It's a great course. Can't wait for tomorrow.
This is the first day of it? What day are you on?
This is day number 1.
Oh. Let me holler at you in day 5 about
5.
right,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
before wrapping up. I want you to talk to me. Tell me how you feel then.
Send you a short video. Very short.
Soaking wet, spent, just wiped, just because people we're just talking. I came about what people can watch videos and they can read books and they can theoretically learn, but that experiential frame of reference of knowing what it feels like to be that hot, that tired, sweating that much, you don't have enough water, and this is just a training exercise. This is an FTX. Put that in real world, and it changes things so dramatically. And for you guys watching, Hakeem is an instructor. He's a great guy. And Sue is an instructor. Emery is an instructor. Carl Erickson is an instructor. Mike, Brush Beater. I got a lot of friends in this business that do this stuff. I don't care where you guys go get training, but go get training. That needs to be a line item in your budget, just like anything else is in your life. You need to budget money to train with, and you need to train.
100%.
Well,
Hey,
even more important than budgeting the money is actually taking the time. Like he was saying about the bow drill. I don't like using the bow drill either. So it just takes so much time to learn. But once you get it down pat and you got the right materials, it's not that hard to start a fire with a bow drill.
I don't like the bow drill particularly myself. I carry road flares if I really need a fire. Actually, not road flares. I carry German maritime flares. But that's a lifeboat skill. Yes.
Yeah. All of us need to take the time to say, okay, if I'm out of everything else, I need to take off my shoelaces and make a bow drill.
Yep. Or cut up my t-shirt and twist it into a string and make that a bow drill. There's nothing stopping you but yourself.
Something.
Yeah.
So
there's no one stopping you but yourself.
Yeah.
what is it? I mean,
Yeah.
we do it all the time. We tell our wives we're gonna practice. We're gonna turn the electricity off and we're gonna practice for a week and everything, and we get shut down every single time.
My wife, she'll be like, "That's cool. Start the generator. Get it hooked up. Let's go." I can turn the power off all I want. What were you trying to say, T, before you were so rudely interrupted?
It was nothing. I just, we're all guilty of procrastinating. I mean, on one level or another, except for Hakeem. Hakeem's the only guy that I've ever seen who doesn't procrastinate about anything. Hakeem, I told him we talked. It's been a few months back, and I told him, I said, hey, you'd have to kill an entire rainforest to write out Hakeem's all the jobs capable. But what does it really take to do your training other than just get up off the couch and do it? And as far as the money part of it goes, hey, look, it's simple. Don't get that Pepsi every morning, every day going to work. I mean, what is a Pepsi? Nothing against soda, pop. I know you can't cut everything out, but at $1.39, $1.50 every day times 365 days equals a class with Hakeem, a class with tactical riflemen, or something like that. I mean, it's simple. Take one little thing and cut it out, and bam, you got yourself a class.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we have T here, I want to ask this question because I want to get all of y'all's reaction. We'll Sue first, and then T, and then I want to get Hakeem's. This is totally kind of off topic, but it's relevant. So, did you guys just hear where Zelensky came out and told the West in general it would be a really bad thing for you to stop sending us weapons? We have millions of our citizens in your countries, and who knows what they're capable of doing if you're not funding us. Basically, in a nutshell, that's what he said. Did any of you guys hear that? And if you did, like Sue, if you did or didn't, what is your thoughts on that sort of a threat? Like
I didn't hear it, but it's something I think about every day when we talk about this open border in the South and everything. And you look who's coming across that border. Remember, I'm from just 100 miles from that border, so I know exactly what El Paso used to look like. And the whole time I lived there, every time I went to visit, I never saw people from Haiti or from China or from Africa or from Venezuela coming across that border. I never saw that before. Yeah. It's just this last couple of years. And I people say, well, what about all the gotaways, or what about all the people that we intend on sending back and everything like that? Well, what about remember the movie Wolverines, or no, it wasn't Wolverines.
Red Dawn.
Called Red Dawn.
Oh, that's
the first.
You're getting a frowny face by your name
said,
for that one, Sue.
Yeah, the first thing they said was, in the prelude up to the Red Dawn was they used all these illegal aliens, to form cells all over the country. And then I pick up the paper, I turn on the internet and everything, and we've got another fire at a food production place. And I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on here? So if it's not already happening and it's not Ukrainians, I can understand why the president said that, why Zelensky said that at all, because I'm sure there's cells, not just Chinese cells, but I'm sure there's cells all over this country.
Oh no, he meant it. He meant it as in if you don't fund us, our citizens will do stuff in your countries.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But
Yeah,
we
okay,
got citizens from all over the world. We got citizens from all over the world who haven't actually raised their hand and said, "I'm an American now."
Yeah.
They have not done that.
Yep.
And they still have all these rights, and they still have all these this networking going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think about it, T? What do you think about Zelensky making that little veiled threat that shit could happen?
Well, and I did
From a guy asking for charity. From a guy asking for charity. Remember that.
Any more day and age, everything's a bad idea. I mean, we're at the point in the world where, we're threatened from every angle. It's nonstop conflict, it seems like. But as far as that goes, I really don't care. I guess whenever it gets here, it gets here. I mean, if they're already here, I'm sure there is. I mean, our borders have been open. We've been flooded with terrorists and everything else for over 2 years now. God knows what's out there. But I did not catch him see that. I did not catch him saying that. But it doesn't surprise me at all with the crooks that they are.
Yeah. Hakeem, what do you think about it, man?
I'm the same way as T.
And he's gone again. Hakeem, you got to stop using that free McDonald's Wi-Fi, man. That shit's killing you. He's such a good guy, too, guys. Like those you don't know who he is. When I said he's generally one of the nicest people I know, this guy's always smiling and he's always positive energy wherever he goes. And so I hate that this is happening for him.
It's not. I mean, this guy, I don't understand he even gets all of his time. I was talking. One day he's sitting on a rock in Ohio, and then the next day he's in Thailand. I'm like, how do you even do that?
Well, you can schedule your posts, right? Just saying.
I'm pretty
you
sure.
Back, Hakeem? There he is. All right, man. You got to stop using that free McDonald's Wi-Fi, bro. You really got to step away from that stuff.
Whenever I start talking about any theories I have, it just seems to shut down. So I'm starting to feel a little targeted here.
Welcome to the club, my friend. So what are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on the little veiled threat there?
I did not hear it, but I would say that if, there's not much, even if I did, there's not much I could do about it other than be prepared myself for what could come down the line. Because there's so many layers to it, it's one of those things where there's so many different aspects of things happening right now. It's great to pay attention. It's great that helps me understand that I need to be unified with like-minded individuals so that we can be prepared to defend what we have when the time comes. But ultimately, I mean, that dude and everybody else out there have been, like Sue was saying, flooding us with, different groups and that are organized, working inside the boundaries of our but just being ready.
Down again. Let's we're gonna run a quick little one of those promo things for Mountain Readiness, folks. And when we come back, we're gonna do our giveaway. So we're gonna knock that
Hey
out.
folks, this is T, and this is Mountain Readiness. It doesn't matter what the event is that makes this thing go pop. It's going to be water, shelter, fire, food, security. That's it. That's what you need in a nutshell.
All right, and now that we got that out of the way, guys, we're gonna go ahead and do our drawing real quick. As you guys know, after this, we have On the Rocks over in Patreon, which is why I suggested you join that. And you can join it for any amount. You can put your own amount in there. You don't have to select a tier. That lets you in to see all the cool stuff. And there's not tons of cool stuff, guys. I'm busy trying to do a bunch of crap, and I've put too much on my plate. My eyes are bigger than my belly, and so we're going to be trying to reorganize a little bit. But here it goes. Let's run this thing, and let's give away a cool ass little Zippo. Well, I love this thing. We're just watching it. It's like watching a slot machine go to work. Well, there we go. KA4QFB. I know who that is, but I can't pull it off the top of my head right now. But email Russ. We'll put that up. Email Russ or Teresa, and we will get you squared away. Awesome. There you go. That's who you email. Now, before we get too much farther, there's been a question asked a couple times of Hakeem, and I want to make sure it gets answered. And it's, what's your opinion on fitness when it comes to survival? I know the answer to this, I'm pretty sure, but let's hear it.
Yeah, I feel like everybody can be like slobs and blobs and they'll be fine. No.
Yeah.
No, I think it's super important. It's super important because you know, I mean, that's how human beings have made it this far, you know, in historical context. You know, they didn't make it this far by sitting around waiting for things to happen. They went out there and they got after it. And so if something was to happen that we need to move a certain distance and carry some stuff or be able to fight our way out of an area or something of that nature, there is no do-overs, right? We can't go back in the video game and, like, you know, stock up on all of it because we know what's coming down the pipeline. It's only you are where you are when things happen. And so, you know, the best bet is you don't have to be a superstar. Nobody's saying like, be, you know, the highest level of military excellence, you know, but just being able to do, you know, small feats, which now seem like huge feats. Can you walk a mile? Can you walk a mile carrying a little bit of weight on your back? You know, can you do that at a decent pace? You know, can you ride a bike? Can you from one place to another rapidly if you needed to? And so those type of things are things that I think people really need to pay attention to. And unfortunately, you know, you go to a lot of different events and you see people who really are great people at heart, and you want to know that they're going to be okay. But then they have a lot of stuff, but the one thing that's the most important, which is their fitness and health, they don't have that. And that's kind of spooky. And I will tell you, I met, this wasn't very honorable of this individual, but it was very real. And so I appreciated him being very real. And he was talking about a person that we knew that was very, very overweight. And that person stuff. And this guy is just retired out of the military, one of the really specialized groups. And he was like, yeah, having that guy around, I was like, well, do you want him on your team? Like, how is that working for you? And he was like, oh, no, he's only on the team as far as the stuff that he has, but not because he offers anything else.
He's a walking loot
like,
drop, is what they're saying. He's a walking loot drop.
Yeah. He was
that's
like,
horrible. That's horrible, but
it was horrible. He was like, when things hit the fan, yeah, we're not taking him on all his gear, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll start my own team without you. I don't want you know, but I mean, it's a very real way to think about people being real and when they think about this type of world. And I think like shows like The Walking Dead really highlight how normal average Joes can into, you know, beast when it comes down to, and they could do things that are not very honorable when it comes down to that, because, you know, when your life is on the line, you know, that needle of what's honorable and what's not honorable and what's right and what's not right starts to teeter a little bit. For some of us, maybe not, but for a lot of people, it will, if they even had any to begin with, you know?
Yeah, never say never when it comes to that kind of thinking. And going back to this fitness thing, I was thinking of this earlier today, as a matter of fact, because like I said, me and my wife, we took our daughter and her boyfriend, we went to a water park in Orlando today, which was awesome. Middle of the week, kids are in school. We had this place to ourselves practically. But we were up on a slide waiting to get on this slide, and a relief lifeguard came up to relieve one of the lifeguards to move to another post or whatever it was. And when this guy got to the top of the stairs, I saw the two lifeguards that were on duty see him, which made me turn around and look because they were both laughing. And this guy had climbed up this short tower. It wasn't that tall. And he was done. He was spent. And I was like, and this guy's a lifeguard. He's supposed to swim out and save a drowning person. And if you've never attempted to do that, let me tell you, from personal experience, you are in for one hell of a fight when you try to save somebody who's drowning. If you don't have the little floaty to throw at him, you're trying to do it on hands on. You're going to fight that person. And I was just looking at this guy going, there's no way in hell. If I saw him swimming out to me, having to stop and catch his breath halfway to me and think he's going to pull me to shore, that's not happening. You know, so yeah, physical fitness, it is important. It absolutely is important. And all of us, myself included, can do more. So yeah, you're on spot on, Hakeem, for sure.
Well, I'm right there with Hakeem. I mean, you know, especially when you're doing psychological operations or you're on an ODA and stuff like that, and there's only 10 of you anyway, or 12 of you anyway, and you got that one guy who's out of shape. He doesn't want to get up in the morning. He wants to go to bed early. You know, he's always, you know, you get tasked to do something. There's 3 of you over here and 3 of you over there, and he comes back and he sits and watches you work. You got to say something to that guy. You got to say, look, you need to stay in shape because we might be in a situation where we need you to pull your weight, you know?
Yeah.
So if you don't pull your weight every day, you're not going to pull your weight when we're hungry and tired and we're getting shot at. It's just that simple. If you don't pull your weight going across the parking lot or standing in formation or mowing the grass, then you're never going to pull your weight in combat.
Yep.
I had a lot of time to think about that, you know, with this being on my back for this last month. If I was with 5 of you and I got this subdermal hematoma, I'd say, hey, give me a pistol. You guys keep going. Give me a pistol and a grenade. Here,
I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can.
What you can use out of my shit because I'm not. I have more of a guilty conscience than that. I wouldn't hold the 4 of you back, expecting you to carry my big fat ass down a mountain.
Alan Kay and myself have had this discussion multiple times, and it's the same thing. You know, we'll look at one another. Love your brother. I'm gonna do everything I can to slow him the fuck down. You know, I just became a fucking loot drop. I got anything you want? If not, you know, I'm gonna do what I can. But you're not trying to drag me out of here. We're both not dying over my fucking mistake or whatever it was. So, and that's a fact.
It's luck of the draw. You know, I didn't ask to get injured, or you know, people don't ask to get sick, but that's just what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said, you just became a loot drop for whoever gets there next. But are your brothers, your teammates gonna die with you? And that's something that I think a lot of people in the preparedness space really don't take to heart. Get all your cool guy shit out of the closet or out of your trunk of your car or wherever you keep it. I mean, all your plate carriers and all your high-speed gear and all your shit, your nods, your weapons, put your mags on, put your plates on, get your ruck, put that on too, fill your water containers, do the whole thing. And put that shit on and start moving in the heat. I mean, in the work, or when it's pouring rain, or when it's freezing cold, or you know, any other severely adverse condition. Before we get off of here, guys, I thank you, Holly, for putting that up. I came out. We didn't get to get to everything, but where can folks find you, and where do you want to point them right now? What do you want them to look at? The floor is yours to close things out. But don't forget, guys, we will have On the Rocks. Kim will be there for a little while. So we'll pop over there, but where can folks find you? What do you want them to see, man?
Yeah, they can find me at that web address, hakeem-isler.com. So HAKIM-Isler, ISLER.com. If they want to get some of my classes, my online classes, and the site is about to go through a little bit of a revamp. I got some classes that I have to put up. They can go to surviveuniversity.com. And those would be two places. If they're interested in the work that I'm doing with with troubled teens and youth going through different issues, as well as veterans like myself that had PTSD or have PTSD and suffer from different symptoms of it, they can visit thesoilfoundation.org and see about getting involved there. We could always use help, whether it be, a person showing up to help with something or whatever a person wants to give. And those are the best ways to get in contact.
Well, but I'll tell you this about on the Soil Foundation and all of the stuff you're doing in general. If there's ever anything I can do to help you, to promote or hands-on, if you need someone to come out, AI or whatever I can do, if I'm free and available, bro, anything you need, just let me know. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Anything I can do to help somebody that's pushing people in the right direction. So, and are you going to make it to Fallout? Are you going to make it to Fallout in October? Are you going to be there? Folks are asking. So
I just heard that. I might be able to make it. I'm not sure. I think I saw it but then Wanda was telling me about it recently because she was at Mountain Readiness, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah.
20th and 22nd next month. This is family friendly for all you folks out there. We're going to have trick or treating for the kids. We're going to have a costume contest. I can't wait for you guys to see Mel in my costumes. They're fantastic. And it's going to be a good time. There's going to be a lot of classes out there. Sue, you still planning on doing your introduction to tracking class?
Yes.
Round? Awesome.
Yes. I got a doctor's appointment on the 20th, so I'll be late coming in, but
all right. And I'll tell you guys, I did a little introduction to tracking with Sue one time, a class that he did. It's phenomenal. Like when you are with an experienced man tracker that knows how to track and hunt people.
Up for that too.
He's got
he's got a ton of people signed up for his classes as well, Sue.
Awesome.
Hooked up.
Okay,
and then before I jump off here real quick, before we jump on next, Emery said that I had to look at Sue dead in his eye and tell him that we love you. That's what he said for me to tell you. Said tell Sue that I love him. And I love you too.
Thanks for
and he doesn't mean
thanks for being gay. I appreciate
he doesn't mean in that brotherly way, Sue. You know exactly what he means.
He means in that cellmate way.
You want to be the husband or you want to be the wife?
Oh, hey, I thought for something for Fallout too. We need to get a bunch of pictures of Trump's mugshot. We need to just put my cellmate on the t-shirt. We sell a ton of them.
Oh, we could actually. That's a brilliant idea. Fallout.
My favorite cellmate. Just put it right
cellmate. He's a bottom. He sleeps in the bottom bunk, guys. Get your minds out of the gutter. That's all that means. All right. I want to say thanks to everybody. Hakeem, thanks for being here, brother. And maybe we'll do another one of these in the future. Have you on again too. And that was a sincere statement to you. If you ever need my help, man, holler at me. If I'm free, I'm there, and I mean that. So. For the rest of you guys, if you're patrons, jump over to Patreon because we're heading there next. We're going to do the On the Rocks, and you guys know that's a little more funnish, and I guess so to say. So, guys, be good at it. We'll catch you next time, or we'll see you in just a minute.
When you're being told about the latest culture or fashion changes at Paris, France, let that person know that surrender clashes with your style